Brother BNX and Young Kinda Done.
I said I'm finna go live.
Brother BNX and Young Kinda Done.
I'm finna go live, put my 9 to 5. Finna go home, boys, finna be a vibe. Finna be a vibe. They say take a leave, so I went and took a dive. I'm finna go live, put my 9 to 5. Finna go home, boys, finna be a vibe. Finna be a vibe. They say take a leap, so I went and took a dive. Dive to do for self on my own. Bossed up, got a car in a home, and I did it on my phone. I'ma show you how to get it strong. Get the bag and it don't take long, and you don't need a loan. You don't need a boss or a master. Get the right team and it's faster. This a new chapter. Gotta learn the business in the game. Every day new money, new change. Adapt to the lane. It ain't about the bread but the brain. Work hard, play hard, new fame. No more chains. No more chains. I'm finna go live, put my 9 to 5. Finna go home, boys, finna be a vibe. Finna be a vibe. They say take a leave, so I went and took a dive. I'm finna go live, put my 9 to 5. Finna go home, boys, finna be a vibe. Finna be a vibe. They say take a leave, so I went and took a dive.
I'm finna go live on IG. Sorry, but a 9 to 5 is not me. I'ma do for self until I die. You already know the vibe when I speak. Do not sleep, cuz the 20 months made 91K. What you doing 40 hours, I can do in one day. With digital real estate that I own, all I need is Wi-Fi and my phone. Get into it, pursue it, I show you how to do it. You got a gift inside you, but you never knew it. Let me put you in the game, I've been a coach. Everything I do is dope, man, I'm finna go
live, put my 9 to 5. Finna go home, boys, finna be a vibe. Finna be a vibe. They say take a leave, so I went and took a dive. I'm finna go live, put my 9 to 5. Finna go home, boys, finna be a vibe. Finna be a vibe. They say take a leap, so I went and took a dive. Went and took a
Brother BNX and Young Kinda Done. Brother BNX and Young Kinda Done.
All right. Assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome to your power call. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, who we believe came in the person of Master Father Muhammad. We thank him for raising up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the living and exalted Christ. And we thank those two for leaving in our midst a divine warner and guide in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It's in their 3 names. I would like to greet you all on this black-tastic morning with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Today we will be listening to Brother Abdul Allah Muhammad. May Allah be pleased with him. And he's going to go over the introduction to the Holy Quran. Please make sure that you guys take notes if you are on for your very first time inside of the Zoom here. How we pretty much operate. We listen to some aspect of the teachings or something about self-improvement. At the very end of the message, we all give our feedback and takeaways on what stood out to us. If you're watching or listening to this elsewhere, you're not inside the Zoom. You can get access to the Zoom by going to www.thepowercall.net, www.thepowercall.net, and you can create your own profile, be a part of our online community. This is where you can watch the replays. This is where you can dialogue, network with each other, do all that good stuff, all inside of our app there, okay? So with no further ado, let's go ahead and get this thing started.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his apostle. My beloved brothers and sisters, I'm thankful to Allah to see you here and to be here with you. And what Brother Drainyar was saying as I walked in is the very essence of what we want to deal with today in a very short time. We've got problems, and one of the big failings of black people, and especially the black leadership, is to gather together, especially whenever there's a crisis, and everybody get up and recite the problem. But the problems are here, and the problems will be here until we solve them. Now, they marched around Queens last night, and they've been marching around the Bronx, and they've been marching around Harlem, and the crack is increasing instead of decreasing, so that obviously is not the solution. You know, we don't need a bunch of preachers praying out on steps and painting X's on the floor. We need to do something about the crack. Now, it can be done. Well, let nobody lie to you and tell you it's impossible. You see, what makes it impossible is those who are in charge of getting rid of it want it to be impossible. You want to see a drug dealer, the biggest drug dealer on earth today, you watch the next presidential press conference. You want to know who the biggest drug dealer is in New York City, you watch Miss Koch next time he gets on TV. Now, I'm telling it like it is. You want to know why they can't stop drugs from coming into the United States? 75% of all drugs brought into the United States are brought in by planes that belong to American Air. Listen to me. No, U.S. Air, that's the name of it, pardon me. It is owned by the CIA. The government brings the drugs in. So the government is not interested in stopping drugs. If you want to stop drugs, drugs can be stopped. The most drug-ridden country on earth used to be China. When you thought of China back in the 30s and the 40s, you thought of opium dens. The filthiest country drug-wise on earth. Now today, there are virtually no drugs in China. China's clean. The biggest country on earth in people, and one of the biggest in land mass, and you got more junkies in Bedford-Stuyvesant than you got in the whole country of China. Why? Because they were serious. They were serious about getting rid of the drugs. Well, what makes them so serious? According to Time magazine, it's not the communists. They say the communists took over China and everything changed. Communists ain't changed no drugs. The most famous and most powerful communist nation on earth is Russia. And they got a vodka habit. They got a vodka Jones like nobody else. They can't even break up the alcoholism. Under communism, that ain't what cleaned out China. What cleaned out China, according to Time magazine, is 115 million Muslims in China cleaned out China. So how could they clean it out? Easy. They got all the drug addicts. And if they were young, they told them, give it up. If they were real old, they gave them all they could get and made them OD. And if they were young and didn't give it up, you remember how they talking about Mao Zedong killed so many people? They didn't lie. They just didn't tell you why. He lined them up and shot them down. And they got rid of drugs. Ain't no other way to get rid of drugs. I'm telling you like it is. There is no other way to get rid of drugs but to make it worth your life to deal in drugs. I got a little 3-piece card here. If you ever go to the Muslim country of Malaysia, they give you this when you get ready to enter. And it's got everything on you, where you're going to be staying, what airline you came in, what time you leaving, and what airline you going out on, so they can keep up with you. And at the bottom, in a big red box, in big red letters, it says, be forewarned, death for drug traffickers under Malaysian law. And just in case you think they're playing, I got the newspaper, the Straits Times, out of Malaysia last week. Somebody sent it to me from over there. See this pretty lady here? Got beautiful gray streak in her hair. 68-year-old grandmother. And she look respectable. You know what she doing on the front page of the paper? They get ready to hang her behind for drugs. They call her with drugs and she gonna die for it. They don't care who you are. In the same article, they say the same judge at the same time, they had a 37-year-old top businessman, he's hanging too. They don't care where you come from, what you're doing, you're drugged, you die. That's how you clean up drugs. Are you willing to give your life for the drugs? Well, if you ain't, get away from here with it. That's how you have a drug-free society. And the only folk who advocate that are Muslims. Everybody else says, oh, that's so barbaric. The hell is barbaric about killing somebody that's murdered children? It's not barbaric to give a 10-year-old some crack. That's not barbaric, but it's barbaric to catch that chump and chop his head off. That ain't barbaric, that's saving our youngsters. That's saving our future. Now, do I advocate it? Yeah, I advocate it. I'm going to lie to you. Yeah, I advocate it. This is why Islam is so powerful. It's a powerful religion. Islam is so powerful that everybody recognizes the power of it. You know that? You ever notice, brothers and sisters, you can live in a house where your family is Church of God in Christ, who are about the most sincere followers of Christianity that you can find. And you can come in and say that you just became a Zen Buddhist. They'll disapprove, but they'll go along with you. You can come in and tell them that, well, I decided that I didn't like Christendom, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, and they'll disapprove, but they'll go along with it. You can come in with your head shaved and one long plait and a saffron gown on and say you're a Hare Krishna. They'll think you're crazy, but they'll go along with it. But when you come in saying I'm a Muslim, pack your bag. Okay? And check that out. That's not just here in America. Look, I got a little handbook right here. Out of Singapore. Put out by the Muslims in Singapore for new converts and people that are interested in Islam. Beautiful little book. We want to borrow some of the stuff from it. But look, in one section of the book, it has this statement in it. Problems with the family after conversion. Some of the new converts in Islam may find difficulty in disclosing their intention to convert to Islam to their non-Muslim parents. Some may not face serious objections, others may expect strong objections. Whatever category you belong to, always remember that Islam encourages you to respect your parents and to show patience. In fact, Islam encourages you to obey your parents with the only exception when they require you to go against the commandment of God. You should therefore not break off ties with your parents or family just because they object to your conversion to Islam. Ask Allah for help, pray, and be patient. So you see, we're not the only ones running into that. We thought that, well, because of the way that Islam is taught by Minister Farrakhan, it was taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, what our parents really object to is teaching against white folks. Those Muslims over there ain't teaching against white folks. They're teaching against evil, though. Aha! That's the problem. They are teaching against wickedness. They are teaching seriously against sin. They're not doing like it's being taught on every street corner and in the middle of the block here. You got to get up and holler about sin, and he's the first one out the door to the joint to get him a bottle. The first one to grab one of the sisters out the choir when the meeting's over. They're not like that. They're serious about sin. So when you find a people who love wickedness, and I ain't playing the dozens with you, brothers and sisters. I'm just telling you like it is. I'm talking about my mama and yours too. So this is a family affair. I'm talking about them all. When you find a people who love wickedness, they will fight righteousness. They won't say they fighting righteousness, because in their heart they know that righteousness is right, and they know they would look foolish saying, well, I just don't dig righteousness. So what they do is they look around for everything else to justify them fighting righteousness. We want to bring it right on down front. In 3 different places, the Holy Quran says that Islam is going to prevail over all religions. And in each one of them, it never says over all other religions. It says over all religions. Now, think about that. That means then Islam actually is not being called in the Holy Quran a religion. It's mentioned as a religion. This day have I perfected for you your religion. But then it says right behind it, it's going to overcome all the religions, though the polytheists be averse. So what's it saying? It's got to get in a form that you recognize in order to destroy that form. Because that's what's got you enslaved. Religion has made a slave out of humanity. So God's word, which has always been the same, God's wisdom, his teaching, has always been the same, has to take on the form that you can recognize so you can get in it so you can be cleaned up. To destroy the very form that it takes. To wipe out religion. Religion is organized rebellion against God. That's what it was originally organized for, and that's what it's done. Don't care what you call it. Everywhere you organize religion, they wind up rebelling against God. So God said, okay, I'm going to perfect a religion for you that's going to get in there and wipe out all the religions, then you have to worry about them no more. Now I want to get into this book because we're going to be dealing with this book quite a bit. In fact, almost exclusively. Okay? We're not going to be dealing with the Bible, dear beloved Christians whom we love. We've been walking with you in that book now for years. We're tired of the mud on our feet. We want to introduce you to something better. You've had that Bible ever since you've been on this earth. We had the Bible ever since white folks let us have it, because they didn't used to let us have it, you know that. After they got it fixed up like they thought they wanted it, then they let us have it. But they used to keep it chained and locked. So they're scared we might read something in there that tells show us some freedom. But when they had wiped out everything that they could, that they thought we could be helped by, then they gave us the book. Buried us in the book. And that's where we are, buried. That's the only reason we went back to the book, because you have to dig a person up from where they buried. But now that you're up out the ground, let's walk on to better, let's get in a better neighborhood. Now, Muhammad, the prophet of Arabia, took this book and made a transformation that's unequal in history. Do you realize that in 20 years, Arabia went from the lowest civilization known at that time to the highest? He's the only man that ever brought about a total transformation of society, and it ended up in his lifetime. All the rest of them, the results came long after they were dead. But he did it. When he died, he had done what he came to do. Nobody else has that kind of a track record. Okay? It's got to be some power here. The Jews were all over Arabia. Judaism was entrenched there. Christians were all over Arabia. Christianity was strong in Arabia. And they never reformed the people. They were the most ignorant. It was a rarity in Arabia to find an Arab who could read and write. Even Muhammad, before God raised him up, couldn't even read and write. Very few people, and they were all the very rich, could read or write. They were ignorant. They were filthy. They were homosexual. They were drug addicts. They were the biggest drunkards on earth. And according to the historians, they say when Muhammad brought the Quran on them, said they wiped out alcohol so fast they even destroyed all the glasses they had been drinking out of. Just disappeared out of Arabia. Alcohol gone. No more trace of it. Can't even find nothing to prove they ever drank. That's powerful. They had all these Jews over there praying and worshiping. All these Christians over there preaching and proselytizing. Couldn't nobody clean them up. Here comes an ignorant, supposedly, illiterate camel driver out of the desert and does what all of those religious scholars couldn't do for the people. Why? He had the word of God. He didn't have the word of the professor. He didn't have the word of the theologian. He had the word of God. Now, you look at Arabia today, corrupt again. What happened? They still got the book. This book hasn't been tampered with like the Bible. You don't find no versions of the Quran. You find translations of the Quran. But every Quran, no matter who translated it, when you look over here on the right side, you find the same Arabic from one Quran to the other. There's been no change in 1,400 years. The Mule version and the Sale version and the Dikstal version and the Muhammad Ali version and the Yusuf Ali version, all of the Arabic is exactly the same. They ain't changed nothing. It's just how they translate and interpret it, but the book is still the same. Then what happened to the Arabs? Ah, that's a good story. And it's a good story because you and I can have the same thing happen to us if we're not careful. In fact, we had a little of it happen to us in the fall of the Nation of Islam in 1975. Okay? What has happened now is that rather than the people being enlightened as they were in Muhammad's time, they have become slaves to the priesthood of Islam. The mullahs, the imams. They have taken the people and made slaves out of them with religion, the same thing that Islam came to destroy. They're doing the same as the priests and the popes and the bishops and the reverends. They are using the religion to make the people bow to them instead of the people bowing to God. That's why the Arabs are in such bad shape. That's why they're confused and murdering each other, fighting each other in wars and everything, while they got the truth. And yet they're living on a lie because they're listening to their corrupt leaders. Now, what was the condition? What were the three greatest things that had the Arabs victimized were superstition, cruelty, and vice. That's the way all of the things are broken down by the historians. They said those were the three categories you can put all their wrong in. Superstition, cruelty, and vice. That's what they had to be cured of. Once you cured them of that, they rose up to become the powers of the earth. They almost conquered all of Europe before it was over. Right, they became the most powerful people on earth because they became the most righteous people on earth. Might doesn't make right, right makes might. Superstition, cruelty, and vice. Well, if the Arabs had to be saved from that, then if you and I get this book, let's examine ourselves and see if it will do the same for us. Does it need to save us from superstition? Is superstition got us in bad shape? Oh yeah, you got black folks who can't hardly buy food, who paying for the lucky number. Paying the readers to give them the number. Sending money to Rev Mike because he sent a cross that glows in the dark. Understand? A prayer cloth. Sleep with this in your room all night, then send it back with $30. It's lucky, yeah, for Ike. It's real lucky for Ike. Superstition. Uh-oh. There go that black cat. You have a wreck trying to avoid a black cat. You'd have been better off letting him cross your path. Now you go avoid him and hit somebody. Crazy. Let me see what my horoscope says about that. Astrology nut. An astrology nut. You know, a fool looking thousands of miles and light years up in the air, thinking something up there is going to affect him. No, astrology bring you over on no slave ship. Can you know that? Right. Do you know we were brought over under every sign? 12 months a year, all 12 signs. We were brought over under Capricorn, Leo, Pisces, all of them. And the cats on the ship that was whipping our butts, they were Capricorn, Leo, Pisces, and the butts that was getting the whipping was Capricorn butts, Pisces butts, and Leo butts. Superstitious. Ignorant. Tea leaves. Folks got these big signs, palms, sticking all up in their yards, and you running in there dumping your money. feeling bumps on your head and stuff. You got a bump on your head, it's probably from the police. Cruelty. Do we need to be saved from that? Oh, do we ever? I don't mean from other folks being cruel to us. I'm talking about from our cruelty to each other. There's nothing a nigga can do with me. I mean, somebody show you a gun. Is that a bad gun, man? Oh, boy, this could bring a nigga down. I mean, it's the first thing in your mind. You ain't thought about shooting a deer, a rabbit, a cracker, or nothing but another one of us. The first thing you think of, boy, look at this knife. We want to make a nigga bleed. Cruelty. We go to church and sit up there and they say, turn the other cheek. Pray for those who despitefully use you. And you shout, yes, Lord. Get on the subway and a black man step on your foot. What's the matter with you, nigga? What happened to turn the other cheek? What happened to praying for those who despitefully use you? It went out the window when the black man, white folks step on your foot. That's all right. And the third thing was vice. And that's got us. Just like the V-I-S-E holds something in place and you can't move and you form it like you want to because it can't go on. That's the way the V-I-C-E got us. White folks don't have to worry about me and you. They talk about the Muslims being subversive or want to overthrow the government. They know better than that. You know why? Because they got stool pigeons in here. Are they paying them? No. They ain't even in the budget. You know that? At least the stool pigeons back in the 50s and 60s had a little sense. They were getting a little bread. You got stool pigeons sitting right in here. Ain't getting a crying dime, brothers and sisters. You know what the man got on them? A beef. Holding a case over their head. You won't go to jail if you go in there and tell me what them Muslims are doing. So you sold your soul to the devil for real. Betray your own people to keep them paying the penalty for your own sins. You are a man or a woman, you say, I go to jail, but I'm not going to give up my people. All praise is due to Allah. You know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad always said he will never be satisfied until this book, the Holy Quran, becomes the law of the land universally. He will not, and if he ain't satisfied, we sure ain't satisfied. Until this book becomes the law of the land. Now, once they understand, the people of the world will want this book to become the law of the land. Well, then why is it being held back? I can give you one good example. Egypt, which is a, quote, Muslim country, end of quote. A Muslim country in Africa, North Africa. The people of Egypt had an election. They had a referendum. You're all familiar with referendums, aren't you? They had a referendum on the Sharia, the law of the Quran. They put it on the ballot whether or not the Sharia should replace the secular constitution that Egypt is living under now. The people overwhelmingly voted to invoke the Sharia, the law of Islam, as the Quran has it, as the law of Egypt. The president, Hosni Mubarak, immediately declared the election invalid. Listen to this. The government took over all mosques in Egypt, and the government appoints all imams. This is what Minister Farrakhan has been pointing out for many, many years. The thing that's going to make this world light up into sudden flames is that the leaders are going in one direction and the people going in another. See, the leaders are corrupt. The people are yearning for a change. But the leaders don't want to change because the leader's success is tied into the status quo. The leaders are tied up in all the thing that keeps them rich and fat and happy is what's going on in this world now. They are a part of that. So any change takes that away from them and throws them right out there with me and you. But the people are suffering. They want to change. The leaders don't want to change. So what's got to happen is, sooner or later, the people are going to get rid of the leaders. I mean, this happens on every level of society. Okay? This is why Minister Farrakhan is going after the leader of the whole world. This is why he has filed a suit against Ronald Reagan, the single most powerful political person on this earth today. So why did he go after him? Why should he go after Jesse Jackson, David Dinkins? You don't sue people for ignorance. No. That's just the same as going after the pusher and not hitting the distributor. That's what Minister Farrakhan is doing. He's bypassing the pusher, going to the biggest distributor. I'm not just talking about of the physical drug. We have been narcotized by false belief. And the man that's in charge of it is Ronald Reagan. So the minister said, if you knock off the head, you won't have to worry about the body. You don't have to worry about John Jacobs. What's that reverend's name over the NAACP? You don't have to worry about them handkerchief head niggas. They're nothing but servants. You knock off the big boy, they got to step back. But it's the leadership. In every stratum of life, it is the leadership that is corrupt and is trying to keep the people from being free. All right. We're talking about this book. You're going to hear about it from now on. If you haven't got one, you need to get one. I'm telling you, you need to own one, at least one. Later on, as you get into it, I know you're going to want more than one, but you need to have at least one. And if you got it, you need to read it. You see, the Bible is the largest selling book in the world. But the Quran is the most widely read book in the world. That's the difference. See, people get Bibles because they think they're supposed to have them. You know, so when you come in their house, you see the big pretty Bible laying on the shelf with all the gold writing and the family history in it and all that kind of stuff. Then you know, everybody looks at you, oh, good, kind Christian there. You know, ain't cracked the book. Understand? You want to hide it? Look, you can hide $1 million in there and they die poor. They never would find it. Understand? But this book, Muslims read it, memorize the whole book by heart, and recite it. You know, we have a university right in Egypt, in Cairo, Al-Azhar, the oldest known university. Do you know that you can go to Al-Azhar, you can study medicine, you can study physics, you can study architecture, you can study anything. I don't care what you study. You can make straight A's, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's youngest son did, Akbar, who teaches right here in New York at one of the universities. You can make straight A's in all your subjects. And when you get all your credit and you're ready to graduate, they will not give you a degree until you go before a board and recite this book from cover to cover from memory in Arabic with no errors. That's the only way you can get a degree from Al-Azhar University. Now, you know that's something. Now, you know it has to be a special book. There are a whole lot of books a lot thinner than this you and I would catch hell trying to memorize. They got little children that know this book by heart. Do you know that? Over in the Arab countries, they got children running around. Ain't got to high school yet who can recite this book from cover to cover in perfect Arabic without any mistake. What is there? I mean, you know, this got to be a special book. You can hardly look how long it takes you to get them to learn the ABCs. They ain't but 26 letters. You know, there's 114 chapters. And they fall right in and do it. Praise to Allah. Now, why am I emphasizing this book? Because this is what we need to get into. We need to come out of the Bible. I just have to say it to you, brothers and sisters, exactly as Minister Farrakhan said it to us. We need to come out of the book. It's not that the book doesn't have good in it, doesn't have truth in it, and all of that. But we have to do something different now. Because that book has proven it can never elevate a people's morals. Can't do it. You go in any Christian society, you will never find a Christian society to match any of the countries that I mentioned, even the worst one, Egypt. Certainly can't find them to match Iran. Can't find them to match Iraq. Libya, that's not the question. You won't find none to match them. I mean, folks who just don't want nothing dirty in their country. Even Hussein, as Thomas as he is, he almost let a Jew in the country and changed his mind at the last minute. A Jew was traveling with Bush the other day. One of the reporters from the Jerusalem Post, I subscribe to the Jerusalem Post, and they're very upset because they had one of their top men. Got a visa right here in the United States before he left with Bush, and the Jordanian embassy told him, oh, don't worry about it, we'll let you in. By the time they got to Israel, they got word from Jordan saying, no, you can't come in here, Jack. You better put a Gentile on that plane, no Jews coming in here. Man, they don't want nothing dirty in their country. You can't get kosher enough to come in there. Now, no society built on the Bible has been able to be strong morally. Why? Because you got truth mixed with falsehood. You got a weakness there. Don't care how great the truth is that's in it, you got the falsehood mixed up, and the people have not been trained to be able to tell the difference. So they take truth and falsehood together. That's just like you can have the most nutritious food in the world, then you mix some garbage with it. That doesn't mean that the food ain't still good, but when you eat them together, you're going to get sick. You got to get sick. The good food ain't harming you, but the garbage is. So the only way that you can deal with getting your body straight is get on a good diet of nothing but good clean food and clean yourself out. Now, the Bible was good for its time for our people here in America because, as I say, we were steeped in it. And even muddy water. You know, if you real dirty and ain't bathed in a long time, you can get in the Mississippi River and it'll help. Because even muddy water will get some of the crud off of you. But after that initial defunctorization, now, I don't think that's in the dictionary, y'all, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about. You next want to look for some clean water, because you know that's the way you're going to get all the way clean. So, while the truth of the Bible helped us to understand some things better and helped us to try to straighten up, being steeped in that Bible, you and I still fell prey to immorality. Why the Muslims, you know, despite all of the good teaching we've had, I mean, fall at the drop of a hat. Why? Because we're still meddling around in that old thing. And as I've told you before, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, when you pull a fish out of water, if you lay him too close there on the bank, he's going to flop back in first chance he gets. You know, he even has a problem in the problem book where it talks about this lion strolling back and forth in a cage. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, well, that was the law of Islam that he put on us, like a cage, to see if we could become civilized enough that you could take the cage away and we still would go for civilization. So he said every now and then he would crack the door of the cage and let us stick our nose out and see if we sniff toward civilization or if we sniff toward the jungle. Every time we sniffed toward the jungle, so he closed the cage back up. When finally his son came along and opened up the cage, the city was deserted and the jungle was full. And we went wild. Well, let's examine that, brothers and sisters. Let's you and me examine that so that we can get clear in our minds why this book can do what that book cannot do. Let's look at the prophets of God. Now, in the Holy Quran and in the Bible, you'll find Abraham, Noah, Lot, David, Solomon, Moses, Aaron, all of them. You find them in the Bible, you find them in the Holy Quran. But let me show you something. You read the Bible, and it tells you that Abraham was a friend of God. Abraham was as close to God as anybody could get. And once you have been enamored of Abraham. And this is a great prophet. He's the father of the patriarchs, the beginning of the line of prophecy. Oh, the man is great. Then you read on further in the book, and Abraham becomes a pimp. Oh, yeah, read it for yourself. Abraham goes into Egypt and pimps his wife off to the king. Not only a pimp, he's pimping his wife. And the king just gives him riches, gives him cattle, gold, everything, sleeping with his wife. This in the Bible. Then he leaves there, he goes to another kingdom, and he pimps his wife again. Tells his son about it, his son comes in and pimps his wife. Now how in the world can you, looking at Abraham as the first great prophet, how can you help but excuse yourself if you want to do a little pimping? And they say, well, I'm pimping, but I wasn't even going to church. I ain't never been to church. Every black man and woman in America can quote that book. Ain't never been inside a church or Sunday school. That thing is so emblazoned in our brains, every one of us is aware of it. But besides that, every one of us has imprinted on our nature righteousness. Every one of us. If you never have set foot in a house of worship and never picked up a religious book in your life, your nature has righteousness ingrained in it. So that you can't do wrong without first making an excuse to yourself and making it seem right. Your nature makes you do that. You can't just do wrong. You don't have that kind of nature that I'm just going to do it because I want. No, you start going, well, see, reason I can do this because these man over there doing that, and see, so and so. You listen to yourself sometimes. You may not say it out loud to us, but you say it to yourself. Well, I can go ahead and deal this little girl for hell. I mean, the man down there taking everything from us, won't get no niggas no jobs and blah. I mean, you're going to justify that thing. Because you don't have the nature to just say, well, I'm just going to do wrong because I want to do wrong. You don't have it. You don't have it. You've got to show yourself somewhere that you're right. So in your subconscious mind, if not in your conscious mind, you feel like getting drunk and you feel a little bad about it. You say, well, hell, you read the Bible, man. After God saved Noah from all of that water and drowned all them people, first thing Noah did, got him a taste, baby. That's what the Bible says. Got drunk and took off all his clothes, didn't he? Yeah. And them sisters down there on 12th Street with them micro minis, tell him nothing about they need to put on some clothes. They say, hell no, they didn't have no clothes on. That's right. They got an excuse. That's why Muhammad said, Allah has cursed those women who, even after they put on a dress, they're still naked. Now, that's a heck of a statement from a man of God. Now, one of the most serious problems in America, and I think most of us were fairly surprised in the last 3 or 4 years to find out how bad it is in the black community. Incest, child molestation, molesting your own little children. Black people doing that. Black people steeped and raised up in the Christian tradition, having their own little babies. Why? Because they're reading a book that tells them Lot, a prophet of God, after he was saved from destruction in Sodom and Gomorrah, had babies by his own daughter. That's in the back of your mind. You never even bring it forward, but it's in the back of your mind and you act on it. That's why we can't clean up. Can't keep you from messing with your brother's wife, can't keep you from messing with your sister's husband, because the Bible says David was like God in his own heart, and David was going with one of his own general's wives. Had the general killed so he could have the woman, according to the Bible. How can this book clean you up when every man that's held up as being a man of God, they destroy his reputation? You can't clean up from the Bible. There are I know some good, sincere preachers who really love God and would love to be right, but they're dirty as they can be because they can't help it. Look at the book they're using. They're using a dirty book. How they going to get clean? You look at the movies about David, all the great things David did. You don't see it in the movies. When Cecil B. DeMille and them made them movies, all they saw was David laying up with Bathsheba. That's all you ever saw. Solomon was so wise, he did something, but all they showed him was laying up with the Queen of Sheba. That's the only aspect of their lives that they deal with. accused poor Aaron of idolatry. So when you wear your little cross and crucifix around your neck, drop down and genuflect to them things that made in a factory in New Jersey, you feel like it's all right. I'm telling you right. You got cats punching a clock, putting them things in a mold and painting them, and then you just... Got to be a nut. See? Now the Holy Quran clears all those prophets of those charges. It doesn't say necessarily that none of them did any of those things. That's not the point. That's not the case. The case is that the Holy Quran does not impute sin to the prophets of God. Why? Because number one, no prophet is God. And since he's not God, since he is human, even your Bible tells you that there's not a righteous person on earth. Doesn't it tell you that? All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So if the prophet is human, the prophet's going to sin. But that's not the importance of the prophet's life. The importance of the prophet's life is his work. So why deal with the prophet's private life if it did not deter his work? So the Holy Quran deals with all those men's righteous works to uplift the people. That's why the Quran can clean up a people, because it ain't mixed with filth. Now, I want you to understand, brothers and sisters, as we're promoting this book to you in your mind, we don't go to other extremes. Now, we're not following a book. Now, we had a man come into power. He made a flag with the book open saying, this is it. We following this. I ain't following no book. I'm telling you about me. I used to own a printing press. I print books. I can't, just like I was talking to you about them statues, if I can make it with my own hand, ain't no way in hell I can worship it. Because just like I made it, I can tear it up. If I can tear it up, what kind of God is that for me to worship? No, I'm not following no book. Not only not worshiping, I'm not following a book. Can't no book be my leader. Because a book ain't never made a man. Men make books. So if I follow anything, I'm going to follow a man. You understand? Now, I'm following a man who is telling us to get into this book and out of another. Now, if he tells us to get out of this one, I'm getting out of this one. Because I know that it will have served his purpose. The man serves us well. He has never led us wrong. So the old song y'all used to sing about Jesus 2,000 years ago, I say today about Minister Farrakhan, where he leads me, I will follow. A man of God does not teach you a religion. He doesn't bring you a religion. He puts you back on the right track. All the prophets that I just named and the ones I didn't name that ever came, no prophet ever brought a religion. That's why the people err when they come up with a religion and blame on a prophet. Here the Jews claim Moses brought them a religion. Here the Christians claim Jesus brought them a religion. They both are lying. Both of those men represented God, and God ain't never had but one religion. Entire submission to his will. You can look back to the beginning of creation, and everything that was ever created had to submit to the will of God. That has been his way of life. That's the way of life of every creature in this universe. The sun, the moon, the stars, all the planets, the beasts that creep and fly, and the human being. The trees and the foliage that grow, they all submit to the will of God. That's the only thing he has ever given as a means of worship. And every prophet that ever came taught that. Read their teachings. Don't listen to what somebody says about them. Read what they said. And every prophet you can ever find, no matter what religion. See, Dr. Gautama called the Buddha. Read his writings and see what he says. Submit to God. Okay? Krishna. Read his writings. Read the king in the Vedas, in the Hindustan tradition. Everybody. Zarathustra, who they call Zoroaster. Read. He didn't teach no fire worship. You find all those people over in Iran now still worshiping fire in the name of Zarathustra. Zarathustra taught one thing. One God, submit to him. All the great masters that ever walked the earth taught the same thing. Submit to the Creator, the one God. But it is the men who come after them who then corrupt what they teach. That's why you got a Sunni Muslim and a Shiite Muslim and an Alawite Muslim. Muhammad wasn't no Sunni. Muhammad wasn't no Shiite. Muhammad wasn't no Alawite. Jesus wasn't no Baptist, Methodist, Catholic. Moses wasn't no Jew. Praise is due to Allah. I don't mean to argue with you, but I just want to get some facts straight. I want to try to, because I know some of you Muslims find it hard to lay that Bible out. I mean, don't read it. You know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that Master Farad Muhammad gave us a command, look in your poison book. But he said, look in it. Don't die in it. Look in it. Now, we talked about the Arabic text being so pure in this book. What about the Bible? What about the purity of the Bible? Now, let's look at the New Testament. I know a lot of Christians are stating, I don't think we got too many Jews in here. But Christians, they always want to skip the Old Testament and say, because see, according to the lies that they've been taught, Jesus came along and destroyed all the righteous laws that Moses had. And one of the first things Jesus said, I came not to destroy the law or the prophets, but to fulfill. So Moses said, don't eat no pig, so they're going to say Jesus said it's all right to eat a ham sandwich. That's a lie. Jesus didn't eat it. Find me in any Bible where Jesus ever ate a pork chop. Never did he? Well, that's because Jesus was a Jew. Well, then why ain't you a Jew? Don't tell me you following a Jew, but you ain't a Jew. Then you confuse yourself. The Gospels. All right, we're saying this book was written in Arabic, and you still can get it. You can get it in Arabic with no English. You can get it straight Arabic. I see them all the time in the bookstores. Okay. What about the original language of the Bible? What is the original language of the Bible? Hebrew and Aramaic. That's what Jesus spoke, am I right? But yet, all of your New Testaments that you have, I don't care which version you have, they will tell you in the introduction that it was translated from the Greek. The only copies of the New Testament that they have to translate from is in Greek, and Jesus didn't speak Greek. Matthew, Mark, Luke, nor John, nor Paul spoke Greek. How did the Greeks get in it? What Greek wrote the New Testament? Yeah, that's a good question. Since Jesus wasn't dealing with no Greeks, didn't have no Greeks around him, who is the Greek who wrote the New Testament? That's some research I want you to do. I got his name, but I'm not going to tell you. I want you to check it out, and you will find the Greek. He got his name, his whole history, his background, how he did it and everything. The Greek who wrote the New Testament. That's why it's in Greek. Look at Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I mean, that's a strange thing anyway. They're supposed to be Hebrews. You ever met a Hebrew named Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John? I mean, you check that out. They all had English names. They ain't come up with a Hebrew name yet. For none of them cats. So they tell you here's some English named Hebrews, but we writing this in Greek. Something's wrong. Can't you see something's wrong with the book? We're not saying it's all wrong, but it's something wrong. Praise is due to Allah. Now, even when you open the Bible, it starts telling you, when it gets ready to say something that God said, thus saith the Lord. Isn't that what it says? Thus saith the Lord. It starts off telling you in the beginning, God created. That's somebody talking about somebody else, right? Who's doing the speaking? Who is it doing the speaking in the Bible when it opens up telling you what God did since he wasn't there with God? Because it says in the beginning. So in the beginning was God, right? And then he created the heavens and earth. Well, who was the witness that's talking? He didn't say in the beginning, I created heaven and earth. Then you know, oh, this is the word of God. That's what y'all tell me the Bible is. This is the word of God. But they always put God in the third person. Who's the first person doing the talking? Whereas when you open this book, the first thing you run into is a prayer. Okay? Starts off with a prayer. so that when you open the book to read it, the first thing that you read is a prayer that you need to say. They call it the Muslims' oft-repeated prayer. It is the prayer said most often by Muslims all over the world. And in fact, Muhammad once told, more than once, a couple of times, he told some of his followers, his companions, that anytime you pray, if you don't say this prayer, then your prayer goes for naught. Whenever you pray, if this prayer is not included in it, forget it, you haven't prayed. So it opens up in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the day of requital. Thee do we serve, and thee do we beseech for help. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not those upon whom wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray. 7 little verses of prayer to open up your heart as you get into the book. So what is called the second surah, or the second chapter, is the beginning of the book. After you say the prayer, you get into the book. Now listen who's talking here in this book. It begins, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I, Allah, am the best knower. Let you know, right, this God talking. So when you read through the rest of it, I want you to know who's talking to you. This is God talking. He identifies himself at the outset. I, Allah, am the best knower. See the difference in the books? That's why you can get guidance from this book that you can't get from another book. You don't even know who's telling you. You don't know whether to trust the cat or not, because you don't know who he is. You know who's talking to you here. Praise is due to Allah. Yeah. May say, well, I don't know no book. That book was for the Arabs. You know, I don't know how many of y'all know. Y'all know that the rednecks down south used to refer to us as Arabs? That's right. Some of them still do. Instead of calling us niggas, they call us Arabs. So you're right, the book is for the Arabs. It's for these Arabs. Now I want to show you something. They translate surah to mean chapter, but when you look up the Arabic word surah, it really means a high degree. This book is made up of 114 surahs. These are degrees of divine wisdom. Now, as we pointed out, Muhammad received this book in 23 years. It took Allah 23 years to reveal this book, these 114 degrees to him. Now, that may seem like a long time, but some of y'all stay in the Knights of Pythias and the Knights of Columbus and the Masonic lives and all of that, 35 to 50 years, and the most you can get is 33 degrees. And then you don't get the meaning of that. All you get is the symbols. White folks get the understanding. You don't get nothing but this. You pay your money, and you don't get nothing but some rings and some lapel pins and learn how to squeeze knuckles. And every time you want a favor, you have to go to the white mason to get it. Now, ain't that weird though? Yeah, well, see, he's my brother. He helped me. How come you ain't in a position to help him instead of him always helping you? How come he's always in the position to give up the help? That's why y'all go to separate lodges, because y'all learning separate things. Now, but here's what I want to get into. How can I say this book is for us rather than for the Arabs? The Arabs were caretakers. They don't like to hear that. That's why Arabs can't lead me. How they gonna lead me? He never let no Arab lead me nowhere. Before I heard the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I bought a Quran. Like to read it, but could no Arabs lead me nowhere. You know, innately I saw that they weren't the type of people I wanted to follow. This book was revealed to Muhammad over a 23-year period. And look at this. The way it was revealed, and the reason it was revealed in stages like that, was that each revelation was revealed at a time that it was time for the Arabs to go another step in their development. So it was revealed in an order to develop the Arabs all the way from the lowest state of civilization to the highest. Now, you say, well, that proves it was for the Arabs. Hold tight a minute. It was revealed in the order that the Arabs needed it. Now, if it was meant for the Arabs, the book would be written in that same order today. It is not. The first revelation Muhammad ever received is the first 5 verses of the 96th surah. After that first revelation, he put 95 chapters in front of it. Because the book is different now. The last 2 revelations he got are the 66th surah and the 110th surah. They're not in numerical order. Why? Because it was revealed at that time in a certain sequence to aid the Arabs. Then to be arranged in the proper sequence for the real people. So now the way it's written is for this people. And when we start at the beginning and go from beginning to end, we will see how we are supposed to develop step by step. Surah 1 through 14 is laid out that way because that is our sequence of development. And if we want to develop, all we have to do is get in this book and read with understanding and read it assiduously. You don't just go through the book and say, I've read it. Oh, no. The book is divided into 30 parts so that you can read it all over again every 30 days. Read a part a day. And Muhammad even divided it into 7 divisions so you can read it, the whole thing in a week. We have some believers right now who do that. Sultana Muhammad is one that does it. Every 7 days she completes the Quran and starts the next day reading it again. See? And the more you read it, the more it becomes a part of you. Because it's not like a novel or a fairy tale. It's something that you internalize. It becomes a part of you. You internalize, and this is what made the Arabs able to stand up as a sign of what could be done with us. And that's why Muhammad said that in the last days, all the work that he had done in the East, he said the sun of Islam would rise in the West and set in the East. And there are spooky, ignorant Muslims over there who think he's talking about the physical sun. That's right. They think all of a sudden one day the sun is going, and see, the sun doesn't even rise. The sun's standing there and the earth is spinning, and that's what makes it look like it's because the earth is spinning from west to east. That's what makes it look like the sun rises. The sun doesn't even rise. So Muhammad wouldn't have made no mistake like that. And he said the sun's going to rise. He's talking about the light of Islam that has always been known to come from the east, that it would rise in the west and go back and straighten out the crooked paths in the east where they have let Islam fall. It is us here in America, here in the West, who are studying and becoming Muslims from pure Islam. Not from no Ahmadiyya, no Sunni, no Shiite, no nothing but Islam. Put all that stuff aside. No Balalian concept. We're not following none of the companions, none of the relatives of Muhammad, like his son-in-law. You got a whole crew over there, whole countries following his son-in-law. We're not even following Muhammad. You understand that? We worship no God but Allah. He alone do we worship. And everybody else is just a good representative who did a good job, and we thank Allah for them. But he alone do we worship. So we won't go off into any bags, any sects. Well, what sect of Islam do you belong to? None. Muslim, that's what I am. That's what we are trying to become. This is what Minister Farrakhan said we have got to do. This is what we got to do, brothers. This is above everything else. We can become everything else. We can become entrepreneurs. We did that before. We got to be great business folks. We got to be great educators. They had 47 schools. We were everything but Muslims. That's the mistake. We got to be Muslims first. Now, we're going to be all the other things. We're waiting for our products to come in now that we ordered. You know? We ordered, 45 cases? Yeah, 45 cases of our new product. You know, deodorant, shampoo, hair conditioner, liquid soap, all some good stuff. Man, we're waiting for it. This is supposed to be already shipped. Yeah, we're gonna build an economic nation with that. But that's not the key. No, that's part of the embellishment. The key is we first must be Muslims. Good Muslims. Got to be that. Now, how do we know that? Because if you go into this book and you're not trying to be right, it ain't going to help you. Did you know that? This is a book. It ain't magic. It ain't spooky. This is reality. This shows the divinity of this book. If you ain't right, you can memorize and it won't help you. You won't even understand it. That's why I saw some of you kind of blink last week, I think, after I had quoted from the book, I kissed it. You know? Well, that's a common practice that you should do when you at home, even before you read it. You know? You should first touch the book to your head, to your forehead, and kiss the book. Now, it's a ritual, but you shouldn't make it ritualistic. You should do it because you understand what you are saying. You're asking Allah to grant you the light that's in the book by indicating that you're not just going to study it with your head, but you're giving it a kiss of love to show that you want your heart to understand what's in the book. Because if you understand it with your head, look at William Muir and Stanley Lane Poole and all those white folk who studied this book and became what they call Orientalists, experts on the Quran. Experts except that they didn't understand it because their hearts weren't in it. They were studying it intellectually. They're experts intellectually, but they miss a lot of it. In this particular book, it points out some of the things that they missed just because they weren't believers. You got to have your heart. When you go into the book with your head and your heart, then the book can help you. It tells you from the very beginning. Let me just show you how the book begins. It lets you know that right away. I, Allah, am the best knower. This book, there is no doubt in it, is a guide. Does it say to everybody? No. Is a guide to those who keep their duty. Check that. It won't even guide you if you ain't right. He tells you that. As soon as he tells you who he is, next thing he does is let you know this book ain't going to help you if you ain't right. Who believe in the unseen and keep up prayer and spend out of what we have given them. Say, well, why say believe in the unseen? Yeah, that's why a lot of those Muslims over there get right spooky. Think we're supposed to worship a spook. No. Believe in the unseen. When you honestly are a devout Muslim, you keep in the forefront of your mind, not in your subconscious, the power of Allah at all times. So when you believe in the unseen, you look at that fan there and you don't think that blade and that stand out, that's the fan, that's the work, that's what's cooling you off. What's making the fan work, you don't even see it. Okay? But you keep that in your mind, knowing that that fan has no power of its own, but there's an unseen power that's making it work. When you see a car going down the street, you don't think that the gas and the carburetor and all that's fine. You got to have all that. But they roll them off the assembly line perfect, and they won't crank. Every now and then, that happens at General Motors, I know. They run off of one of them Eldorados. Bad boy. Ain't nothing wrong with it, and it won't crank. Just remind you every now and then, it ain't just what you see, it's what you don't see. So this is what it's saying, that you've got to be one of those who keeps in mind. Don't start thinking nothing is so heavy that is material. Nothing that's made, nothing in creation. Understand, when you see the sun, wow, that's a bad sun. But there's a power the sun can't hold itself up in midair. There's a power greater than the sun that makes it stand there and rotate. Hey? All of the planets, look up, look at that. Halley's Comet ain't nothing. There's a power that makes Halley's Comet come every 76 years, and it can stop it when it feels like it. All right. Who keep up prayer and spend out of what we have given them. That's something? Keep up prayer. The book won't help you if you don't keep up prayer. You know, Minister Farrakhan made a statement not too long ago, quite a few months ago, when he said, you know, if you won't pray, no way you can consider yourself a Muslim, and no way Allah will consider you one. Because he don't even ask nothing else of you. You ever stop to think of that? You can't give God nothing. And the only thing he asks of us is prayer. He don't ask us to do nothing for him at all. He asks us to pray. Now, if you won't do that one thing and he gives you everything, look what he says about charity. He doesn't say spend out of the money that you got with your own sweat and blood and your own ingenuity and slick thinking and all that sort of and spend out of what we have given them. Because if you think that is your money, then you make decisions sometime as to whether or not to be charitable. But when you understand that you ain't got no money, that if Allah didn't make it possible for you to have some money, you couldn't get none. I don't care what, you stick up a bank and it'd be just your luck that the truck just left with the money. You know, if he don't want you to have no money, ain't nothing go get you no money. So that's why I said, spend out of what we have given them. All we have comes from Allah. So when we use it to push his program, we ain't doing him no favor. We're showing gratitude. As Mr. Farrakhan said last Saturday, any farmer, any intelligent farmer, doesn't consider himself contributing to the earth when he plants seeds. He ain't contributing nothing. He waiting for the seeds to grow and give him some more. As the Holy Quran points out, says you take one kernel of corn and you plant it in the earth and it pushes up a stalk. And on the stalk is 7 ears. And on each ear is 100 kernels. You got 700 kernels of corn for giving up one. Hey, that's a good bargain, ain't it? Now, you know that's a good deal. You can't beat that in a ring with gloves on. I mean, that's a good deal. Well, this is the law that the farmer understands that everybody else should understand. He's got no guarantee. When he puts it down there, there could be a drought, there could be flood, he might not get a crop this year. But you know what? If he don't get no crop this year, you know where you'll find that farmer next year? Out there planting again. What's that? Faith. I mean, the man believes sooner or later God gonna give him a crop if he keep doing what he's supposed to do. He don't stop to, oh Lord, God didn't give me a crop, I gotta learn how to do something else. No. If you're a farmer, then you're a farmer. And when God don't give you a crop, you go out and plant again. If he don't give you a crop, you go out and plant again. And you keep on planting, and one day God blesses you with the crop, and you have more in that one crop than all you planted all those years. It's plain. I think it's plain. Praise is due to Allah. Now, in our conclusion, we're talking about we must be Muslim. That's the key to everything. We can't be it from the Bible. Okay? We've already made that point. We've got to get steeped in this book. We got to get steeped in the lessons that we were given by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And those who don't have them, they're being printed up, all of them in booklet form now. We saw them in Chicago. They're being printed up. And we must get steeped in the writings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In fact, an assignment that Minister Farrakhan gave us that all of us should do before this week is out. Go back to Message of the Black Man. I don't care how well you think you know it. Go back this week and read the first 5 chapters of Message to the Black Man. Okay? Now, I don't know how many of you have had the experience of having put your stuff aside and go back and think somebody must have changed books or changed lessons on you because it looks so different. But I have it all the time. I have it all the time. When I got up here to explain the lawsuit to you, it was that morning while preparing it, first time that I saw the most pertinent information in there, and I was in on and was going over the drafts of the suit as it was being prepared. But for the first time, I saw that phrase in that play about in the person of Edwin Meese. I hadn't even seen that before. Isn't that? So every time you go into it, if you go into it with an open mind and your heart right, you'll see something different. So go back into Message to the Black Man and read those first 5 chapters this week. Now, a good Muslim, who's to judge? Now we get to the nitty-gritty. So we can point some fingers. As Minister Farrakhan said 4 weeks ago, Arabs over there in Saudi Arabia trying to get him to condemn Imam Warith Deen Muhammad, wanting to know, well, who would you say has deviated? Minister Farrakhan told us, you know, you people can always talk about deviate, who deviated. You're so quick to look for somebody who deviated. You couldn't tell it because you deviated too far. He said, who set you up a judge as to who's a Muslim when the Holy Quran says only Allah knows the heart? How are you going to be pontificating, as he called it, as to who is and who is not a Muslim? You don't have that right. You ain't right yourself. That's what he told them. You know, they thought he was going to be cute to them to get some money, but He told them the truth. They didn't give him no money. He said, Assalamu alaikum, and came on home. You wasn't over there begging in the first place. They are the ones who said they had some money to give up. When they didn't give it up, he said, hey, that ain't what I came for. I already had my itinerary planned before you mentioned money. And he got nothing to do with it, man. No cash and carry Islam. That's not our leader. He don't play that. He don't sell himself for nothing and making us just like him. What he's doing, making us in his image. You say, well, wait a minute, I thought we were supposed to be in God's image. That's right. That's how we get in God's image. Walk by the man we see that's the closest to God. If you want to go to Nostrum, you see somebody walking up this street, follow him. He's headed in the right way, and he's going to get there before you. So you following him. All right? So you walking up the street like him, that ain't mean because you're trying to get to him, you're trying to get where he's trying to get. So you stay in his track. All right. Who is the judge? I already said Allah is the judge. So how can we tell if all these people are good Muslim or not? It ain't your business. You meddling. You know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad also said that there's only one way to know if you are a good Muslim. Now check this. He ain't never taught us how to tell if somebody else was a good Muslim. But he told us the one way that each of us can tell if we are good Muslims. And there ain't but one way to do that. And understand that. Ain't that weird? Out of everything we're being taught, and as thick as this book is, if you want to know whether you're a good Muslim, as I say, if you worry about that, you ain't got time to worry about whether he or she is a good Muslim. If you start worrying about that, you done messed yourself up already. Man, you try to take care of you. Okay? He says the only way that you know you are a good Muslim is by the love in you for your brother. Now that came to us out of left field, it seems. We were expecting him to say how many rakahs you make and how many newspapers you sell and how much money you give up. And ain't but one way for you to be able to determine whether or not you are a good Muslim, and that is your love that's in you for your brother. That's the only gauge you got. Ain't no other gauge. If you are the most pious prayer on earth, if you fast 2 weeks out of every month, man, if you speak Arabic like an Arab, you can recite this book backwards, upside down in Arabic. That don't make you a Muslim. What makes you a Muslim is the love in you for your brother. And if nothing else is happening, if you got that, Allah blesses you. Love. I'm not just talking about of the Muslims. I'm talking about your brother and sister out there that's your brother and sister. The love in you for them. Because if you get hung up on, well, yeah, I love all the followers of Minister Farrakhan, that ain't good enough. That ain't even close to good enough. It's easy to love somebody you agree with. The test is when you got a total disagreement, can you still love them? That's when you're tested. You know, if somebody, you know, y'all agreeing on everything, and y'all, everything I say for you to do, you do. Everything you want me to do, I do. Hey, that's nice. But what happens when we disagree? Do we love each other then? Okay? Yeah, I'm not going to eat no pig foot. Understand? But I ain't going to jump on you if you offer it to me. Because I know you don't understand. Am I going to hate you because you got grease around your lips? I mean, it's just, but that's some of us like that. We don't call it hate, but that's what it is. That's what it, hate is action. Hate ain't words. Hate is action. You see somebody like that, you take, yeah, I don't want that pig-eating nigga around me. You were just that yesterday yourself. And be careful about tomorrow. Understand? You know you are a good Muslim by the love in you for your brother. I can't repeat that too often. I want that ingrained in your brain so you won't mess up. So that you know that that's the bottom line, as they say in accounting. That's the bottom line. When everything else is through, That is what can pull you out of the fire. That is what can make you make it or not make it, is the love you have for your brother. Okay? I mean, that's, and we're going to be tested. Believe me, we're going to be tested. In fact, we're already being tested, but we're going to be tested some more. Now, we've got one situation I'm going to mention right here. We know that we got a bunch of brothers who have paid for uniforms, and the money I think is supposed to go off today or tomorrow morning with your measurements and all that to get everybody a uniform. But now, I haven't looked at the list, but I've given the captain some instructions about the list. We got some brothers who have taken the Final Call newspaper on consignment, have sold the papers, and have not turned in the money. So that means then that you are actually guilty of theft by taking. Anytime you spend somebody else's money, you stole it. I want you to know that first, straight out. I ain't gonna soften that up and say, well, you're a brother that didn't understand. No, you're a thief. That's the first thing. Now, you can correct it and get back in good grace, but right now, you're a thief. Okay? Now, we've been working with you on it. Brother been counseling with you, you know, catching you every time you come to the mosque, ask you to pay something on your paper bill and all that, you know, because, again, this is love for your brother. Nobody trying to crucify nobody. We don't want to throw you out the door, tell you, hey, we'll get our money, we put you out. And that's hustling backwards. So we're not interested in being punitive. We're interested in making you responsible. That shows that you are irresponsible. Our job is to train you and make you responsible. We can't do it by throwing you out in the streets. That's crazy. If you could have been responsible out there, you'd already be responsible. That's what you're in here for, to be taught and trained in the right way. So we're trying to teach you some responsibility. Pay your bills. Because if you're not responsible in here, you ain't responsible at home. We know that. So you don't have to tell us about you. We already know that. We can look at how you treat your bills here, and we don't have to talk to your wife. We know how you treat your bills there. Okay? We already know that. It's a pattern. People follow patterns. Okay, now, so we're trying to make you better. Not for us, but for you. So we're insisting that you pay your paper bill. Now, what I've told Brother Sterling, the captain, is any brother who owes some money on papers, which means they have stolen some money from Minister Farrakhan, and has paid for their uniform, we are deducting the money you owe for the papers. Ain't no way in the world that I'm going to have you standing up there Savior's Day from New York, clean as the Board of Health, pretty white and gold uniform, representing Islam, and you're a thief. No, we got to, white's supposed to stand for purity. We got to clean you up. So if you owe some paper money and you done paid for your uniform, your papers are paid for, you owe some more money on your uniform, because ain't no uniform going to be ordered for you till you give up the rest of the money. Okay? And that's the way, I mean, I think that, don't you think that's fair? How are you going to owe Minister Farrakhan? And it'd be different if you borrowed it. I mean, it would be wrong if you borrowed it. Do you know if you borrow, if you say, Mr. Farrakhan, let me have $50, and he loaned you $50, and you told him you're going to pay him in 30 days, and 60 days went by, and 90 days, and you still haven't paid him. If you ordered the uniform then, you would be wrong, and that was a legitimate loan. But you stole the money. That's the first thing. You ain't asked for nothing. You stole the money, and then want to use the money to get sharp. Now, you talk about not loving your brother. If you can't love the big brother, I know you don't care nothing about us. You can't convince me you love me if you treat him like that. Ain't no way. No, brother. So I just want to let all y'all know, any of y'all that got paper bills that paid on uniforms, that you short of your uniform money. You ain't short of the paper money no more. Now, see, and when I was saying, you know, about Minister Farrakhan's independence and him trying to make us like unto himself and making us in his image, you know, that is a blessing, because I think most of you were here last week when we discussed the fact that in the treasuries that provides for me and my family, you know, it's short, and we're suffering, and there are things that we're doing without and lacking, and we're up against some things and all that. Now, that's part of my test. Because see, if I am weak, and if I don't trust in Allah as my leader does, then I would come in here today with one of those lectures that make you jump and shout and be happy. It would never say nothing to step on your toes. Because I want to make you pleased so you drop some money in the administration. If I was weak. But no, that's a test. Okay? The more in want I am, the stricter I become on the law. That's been my pattern for 29 years, and I'm praying to Allah that it remains that way. No. Ain't no way in the world I soften down to make you do what you're duty bound to do. Oh, no. We go the opposite direction. I don't lighten up, I tighten up. No, you want to test me, you get a chance to test me good. Cut it all off. Allah is sufficient for me. But you're going to be what you're supposed to be if you're going to walk with Minister Farrakhan. As long as I have anything to say about it. And I'm going to back him up 100%, and ain't nothing you can do to stop me short of taking my life. There's nothing else you can do. You hear me? I want to make sure you hear me. So that you can't think that you can bend me no kind of way with none of your, ain't nothing you can do or not do to bend me. Okay? Right is right. And I don't measure it by benefit. This is where we get messed up. We want to pray to God and then look outside to see if anybody left some money on our doorstep. That's crazy. You're supposed to pray to God because he's God, not because you're expecting something to drop out of the sky. But by the same token, I'm serving Allah. And if I get in need and get in want, then that's all part of serving Allah. I don't have no problem with it. It ain't the first time, and I know it won't be the last time. Praises due to Allah. I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that. That as you see me tightening up, I'm doing that regardless. You'll never be able to tell how I'm doing by which way my teaching is going as far as softness and hardness. No. Be it Allah's will, I'm going to stay consistent. Whatever Minister Farrakhan wants pushed, that's what's going to be pushed. However he said we're supposed to go, that's the way we're going. And that's the end of that. And then I'll be like the people of Moses out in the desert. They knew wasn't nothing growing in the desert. When Moses said, button up your boots and shoes, they got on out there. Okay? They were fed. When Elijah left, went out in the cave. Wasn't nothing growing in the cave. The ravens came and fed him. They didn't know how he was going to eat. But he was on a mission, and he carried out his mission, and he didn't starve. It didn't make him no difference. He knew the God he served. So Minister Farrakhan is that way, and we are trying to walk as close in his footsteps as we can, all of us. We are all trying to walk as close in his footsteps as possible. So we need to start dealing with each other that way. Get up off of pettiness and, as the Holy Quran calls it, niggardliness. You know, when you look up the word niggardly in the dictionary, you know, I mean, that's strange. It just means stingy, but strange that it should be so close to what they call us. I mean, that's way out. Tell you something, you know, I'm through now, but there's a parable that Minister Farrakhan alludes to a lot of times about this man and his wife who had this property. Jesus told this parable. Man and his wife had this property, and they sold the property, and you know you were supposed to give tithes, 10% and all that. So to keep from giving as much charity as they were supposed to give, they lied about how much they sold it for. And, you know, of course, they killed them and all that. Jesus said that the master killed them because he knew they lied and all that, blah, blah. But, you know, I had been hearing them teach on that for a long time, and I finally found it in the Bible. And I saw the wife's name. It was Sapphira. I couldn't believe it. No wonder he never told what her name was, you know. But that's, I mean, it's strange how that's put into us. But, brothers and sisters, I want to be frank with you. I enjoy doing this work, and I enjoy working with you. And I want as many of you to work along with us as possible. We have a battle to fight, and the battle is not among us. We see believers all across this country who, for some strange reason, think that they got a fight in the house. That's crazy. The battle is out there. Okay? And if they can get us to, I just, as I told you, I subscribe to the Jerusalem Post. I also subscribe to the Jewish Press, which is printed right here in New York. They are complaining about the fact that the big battle that's stirring in the Knesset in Israel is going to lay them open to be wiped by the Arabs. See, everybody understands that a house divided against itself cannot stand. Right? So what we need to do is, let's not worry about me thinking what I like and you thinking what you like. Let's see what Minister Farrakhan is doing. Allah is showing us that his route is this route of success. He's showing us that. We can't deny that. Even the enemy can't deny that. They are admitting that publicly, that the man is on the road to success. Any other road we take, we on the wrong road. He ain't divided, and he ain't divided when it comes to us. How can he love me and love you, and me and you don't love each other? Something's wrong. Let's get this together. Let's remember that quote from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that that's the only way we know that we're good Muslims. We don't love each other, we ain't good Muslims. I don't care what else we do. Okay? So brothers and sisters, I want to thank you, and that was merely an introductory lecture to what we'll be doing here, at least for the next 6 months. We're going to delve, because we really haven't been into it like we should, and we've asked believers to study and get in the study group and discuss this book and so forth. Some are doing it, some are not. But we are going to walk this book. For the next 6 months, every time you hit this door, we're going to be walking in the Holy Quran. Okay? Is that, everybody satisfied with that? Okay. Because we need to know this book. This is the book that can do it to us and for us. Then we need to know what we're dealing with. And we can't leave it to somebody's independent study. Then there are some people who don't have good study habits. You know, there are a lot of people who can't study independently. That's why they don't take correspondence courses. They go in a classroom setting where they can interact. So we will do it every kind of way. You study at home, you come here, we'll study with
Today, in our discussion of minority groups, we have with us two guests. One is Minister Malcolm X. Shabazz, one of the top leaders of the Nation of Islam, or the so-called Black Muslims. And we also have Mr. Herman Blake, one of the teaching assistants in the course.
All right, family. Let me know if y'all can hear me and see me. Let me know if y'all can hear me and see me.
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead and press your number ones if you have anything that you would like to share. All right. We got up first Brother Timothy.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So when he spoke on drugs, I applied it to any source of difficulty that we may have trouble overcoming in the community, which we see all the time. We don't know how to get together when there's a problem and come up with a proper solution, yet we complain about the problem with no solution. Deliberative dialogue is what I was told we must have by one of the brothers in the nation, Brother Ali, and he's going on 70, so he pretty wise with his experience, and he got the experience to be wise. Well, what do you mean by deliberative dialogue, Brother Timothy? I'm going to give y'all the definition that Google gave me. This is a method of thinking and talking together. It is a way for individuals from various backgrounds and perspectives to come together to seek a shared understanding of a problem or many, or an issue, and search for common ground and action. The student minister also brought up drugs in China, and that communism wasn't what cleaned up China. Muslims did. And that was shocking to me because I did not know that. I'm only 28 years old, so I'm still understanding and learning different things that I never knew. China was predominantly a drug country in the 30s. Fast forward later, where the drugs? In the 80s, I look back in the 80s, it was all over America. So that was like a real interesting thing that I want to look more into. How did that happen? Why did that happen? I understand the wars, but how did it go from China to America, and who plotted that plan to happen? He also spoke on the conversion of Islam, and that the conversion of Islam is always unsettling to some people. Even just the conversation of conversion can be unsettling, whether it's with your friends or family. You tell someone you were devoted, and I've seen this. You tell someone you were devoted Christian, it's well praised, it's well accepted. But you say you about to be a Muslim, you want to join the Nation of Islam, and you get looked at sideways. All heads turn at that point. And I'm closing on this. The student minister also mentioned the Nation of Islam will overcome all religions. I always go to Google, so we can all Google it as well. On Wikipedia, if you type in growth of religion, the religious forecast for 2050 by the Pew Research Center predicts that globally, Muslims, the population for us, would have surpassed the Christian population. So this was a good lecture. I've never heard this brother talk a day in my life, but it really hit home for me, and I'm gonna go back and listen to some more. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Yes, sir. Brother Daniel.
Yes, sir. This is my first time hearing this message. It's a lot. I'll just pick the one point that stimulates a thought. Is what he said, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that there's only one way to determine whether you're a Muslim or not. And I never heard this, so I'm on the edge because I'm like, well, one way is that? And he said, until you have love in you for your brother, of course, including sisters. So that sparked me because it made me think about how you determine whether you're really Muslim. And it ain't by our devotional acts and none of that. Then I saw how he handled the misuse of the paper money and how he administered justice fairly by saying that, okay, you committed an act of theft, but what we're going to do is you're going to divert that that uniform money to the paper money, and then you got to come up with the money for your uniform. So it made me realize that the way we look at love, we're always looking at it from an emotional perspective, and it's not. The minister said that the Holy Quran speaks more about duty than it does love. Duty is mentioned so many times in the Holy Quran, and I forget the number, and love is only mentioned quite considerably less. So it just made me realize that the Holy Quran is a book of love, but that love is rooted in keeping our duty and is based on the following of divine law and instructions to create the proper brotherhood and sisterhood that we need to love one another.
Praise be to Allah. One of the things that stood out for me, he says, if you ain't right, you can memorize it and you won't understand it. And it reminded me of when the minister talked about, not being so ritualistic, and that the ritual is really a reminder of the principle. So, you can go through the motions, you can memorize even the prayer, you can memorize, the motions and things of that nature. But if you're not right or striving to internalize what that ritual is supposed to do for your life, then there's no benefit. You're just like someone who does not know it at all, who have not memorized it at all, because you're just going through the motions. And it also made me think about that is a principle, that it starts with self. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says self-improvement is the basis for community development. But, if we look at business, as someone who coaches businesses and things of that nature, like what I've seen over the years, people can get the strategy, people can read the ebooks, people can get the programs, but if there's something in you, it will stop you from applying all of this knowledge that's all around you. Many people can't get over their past traumas, or not that they can't, they haven't dealt with it. Many people got old, bad paradigms in their mind. And so all of that stops them from executing and even being able to benefit from the coaching, the teachers, the conferences, the programs, whatever you may get, because really it starts within. And this is why two people can come to the same conference and go get different results. This is why two people can join a program, read a book, and get two separately results, because it's something that was missing on the inside from the person who wasn't able to go execute and apply. So I like that, because, you know, religion can make you very ritualistic. You know, have you been dipped in the water? Have you been baptized? Man, did you come and, you know, eat of the bread, you know, and drink of the blood, and, you know, all of that. And I get that, but we got to understand that that is a ritual. Just because I got dipped in the water when I was younger and I got baptized didn't mean I came up a new brother. I was just a wet Negro at the end of the day. If my heart wasn't baptized, if my mind wasn't baptized, it's not just about the circumcision of the male organ, it's about the circumcision of the heart. And so if we don't see it from that perspective and internalize it from that perspective, we'll be found doing all of the things. When you see us, we'll be going through the motions, but internally we won't really be growing, because we learned it, or we didn't get the understanding of the purpose of it. So like he said, even in the lecture here, he was like, yeah, you know, you can do it, you know, kiss the Quran and do that, but don't do it from a ritualistic standpoint. Like, don't think kissing it is going to change your life. You got to understand it and the reason why. And that's what brings about the transformation of life, by starting from coming from within out, not out in. And the minister, as I close, even talked about the word education. I don't know what the root word is. I think it's Latin, but the actual word means to draw out, not to just be putting something in or to be forcing it in. It's having the skill to draw out of the human being is what the root word of education really means. So, and if I said that wrong, somebody can come on and correct me, but that's what stood out to me. All right, let's go to Sister Farah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I apologize for no. So what stood out to me was when brother said that in scripture it says something like Islam governs all things. It didn't say Islam covers all of religion, because the Quran doesn't even consider Islam a religion. It's above religion. He said religion is organized rebellion against God. Hold on, what's that?
We can't hear you anymore.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you now.
My apologies. Yeah, so he said rebellion, he said religion is organized rebellion against God. The minister said, he said, you know, people use religion as a cover or a shield to hide their dirty practice, gutter religion. What also stood out to me is when he said the Arabic across all the versions of the Quran is all the same. So what that's telling me is really the only thing changing is us. You know, Islam has never changed. It's us that are changing this, because, you know, Satan came and Islam is something that's always existed. You know, it's part of our nature. It has no beginning or ending, because the black man and woman has no beginning nor ending. And we won't stop spreading. I feel like that's why we won't stop spreading this truth until Allah's law becomes the law of the land again, because we can't become ourselves until the world has accepted Islam again. We'll never fully become who we were created to be. All right, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Thank you. Brother Wesley?
Assalamu alaikum. I want to veggie back on what Sister Farah was saying as well. That stood out for me as well when Brother Abdul brought up that a man of God doesn't come to bring a religion. A man of God comes to bring you to God. And that's so powerful because even the minister has said, Jesus knew nothing of Christianity, but that's what is put on as a cover for that, those dirty practices. And then also, I appreciate him bringing up the emphasis of the parts and the way that the Quran is put in place is organized not in chronological order in the way that it was revealed, but it's organized in the way of our development, in the way that we grow into being a Muslim, or being a righteous Muslim as well. And I love the methods in which we can do that because our sister captain here, student sister captain here, emphasize that about if you read one part of the Quran a day, all through the 30 parts, you'll read the Quran 12 times a year. And then having him bring it up as well, or re-emphasizing the seven, I believe he said the 7 divisions, you'll be able to read the Quran once a week. So just understanding that these methods, if we put them into practice, helps. Because that's one thing I always wonder, how certain brothers, they're able to, or sisters are able to, know or recite certain verses, but it's like, or certain ayats. But you can do that if you stand in the studies and then having these ways of parsing out or reading the Quran in this method gives you that repetition that allows it to really sink into yourself as well. And how, in certain Islamic countries where there's children that can recite the entire Quran word for word, which is beautiful as well. And I believe I may be, out of date as far as understanding this as well, but I believe MUI, at one point the minister was saying that he wanted at Savior's Day to have that be a part of some of the parts of that where we have the Quran recitation being done as well. I'm not sure if that ever took place, but I remember in the lecture he stated that as well. So it's just beautiful to be able to have this proper understanding of how to read the Quran, understanding how it was revealed, and then understanding that the way that it's put in is for us to be able to show the development of how to grow into being that Muslim as well. So I'll leave it at that. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Sister Maria.
Can you hear me, Brother Ben?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So I have a lot of notes and a lot of things that kind of were new to me. I like the point that the brother brought out about, how we can read the Quran in just 7 days or in a month. And that was amazing because, being a Bible student there for many years, I read the Bible, but it took maybe a whole year to read the whole thing. And sometimes that could be discouraging. Things can happen and you don't get it done. But to be able to read the Quran in such a short time, you can do it over and over and memorize, the things in the Quran. So that was one of the points. And I must say, my heart is beating so fast right now. Crazy. But also that in order to really know that we are, striving to be a good Muslim is by the way we love our brothers. And not only those that we agree with, but those that we disagree with as well. So that was an amazing point for me, because sometimes family can be, you can kind of take for granted that, they'll always be there. But that is not true. They're not always going to be there. So it's good to show the love that you have for them while they are around. And so not only the brothers in the faith, but also your immediate family as well as friends. Yeah. Also, being that I was, pretty much into the Bible, and I felt like that was the Word of God, and that was it. There was nothing else besides that at one time. Learning about the falsehood in the Bible mixed with some truths made me realize that, I'm very happy to finally have the Quran and know about the Quran, and I'm looking forward to, being able to read it more because, as the brother brought out, you can get it read pretty quickly. So there's no reason why I should not be able to read the Quran in a week or in a month. So that I'm looking forward to, starting to do that. Also, because of the truth and the false that's in the Bible, it has not been able to elevate people the way the Quran does. In a short period of time that I've been learning the truths of the Quran and Allah, I've made a lot of changes that I've never did while I was studying the Bible. It just doesn't have the same power. So I got a lot of points, and I appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for sharing. Sister Yasina?
Assalamu alaikum. So my takeaways very quickly was when he was talking about the corruption that's going on in the Middle East. And if we look at not just the wars, but what's going on with the people and how they've come. So I work a lot with human trafficking, and so I have to study just what's going on in the world in respect to human trafficking and domestic violence. So in Iraq, particularly, they have what's called a temporary marriage license, where a man can get a temporary marriage license and he can defile a child, a female child or a woman, if she agrees. However that happens, and you could go on Amazon Prime, and they have the documentary. But he can defile the girl or the woman however he wants to, as long as he gets a verbal contract from one of the imams, or as they like to be referred to now, one of the clerics. And the cleric and the perpetrator pays the money to the cleric, and he can have that woman or that girl for an hour, or he can have her for a month. And once he's done with her, then it's null and void. And so in us watching these documentaries, just to see how the woman is being destroyed, it's no wonder Master Father Muhammad came. Another reason why he came to us, because the same thing that's happening over there it definitely happens over here. So that was one point, and how everything is just everything has just come corrupt, even when it comes to the woman, which they've always had that problem. The other part was the breaking down of Mother Tainetta's. It was a whole lot, but the 7-day breakdown of Mother Tainetta's reading of the Holy Quran. I'll put it in the chat. And, with patience and with discipline, we can do it. It's a couple of us, we read it every 7 days together. So it can be done. It just takes discipline. And as we're taught, it takes sacrifice, but it's a matter of, you know, getting to that point and how we want to get to that point, not just to rush through the reading, but to discipline ourselves to retain as much information as we can, as many of the ayats as we can. I'm rushing, but I just want to add those 2 points. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Let's go to Maximus.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
What stood out to me was, which I didn't know was about the Bible being translated by Greek. I knew that it was written by in Hebrew. Another thing was the way he spoke about, the minister did, about us. I mean, people, the nation, not just thinking mosque, but think about all the brothers and sisters. I think that is very important because I experience a little out of place when I visit. I go on Fridays sometimes. I don't feel like the inclusion, so I like to thank everybody with and thank you for this power call because it has added value. Another thing, when he talked about love is not just loving the people that you get along with, but the ones that you are in disagreement with. And from his speaking, it explains to me how studying and knowledge is very important. And one little thing it made me think about when the minister said we should want to read and understand. We are in a time of judgment of this world, and we are being judged on how well we understand what God himself brought to and taught to the minister of Farrakhan teachers whom he represents. That's it. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Sister Yolanda.
Assalamu alaikum. Happy Savior's Day.
Happy Savior's Day.
Islam is going to prevail over all religions. He mentions about in the Holy Quran and how he expounded on how religion has made or has enslaved a people because of the mixing of the truth with falsehood, such as if we make our own veggie burger and then we compile it with the mayonnaise with soybean oil, the ketchup with high fructose corn syrup, and whatever else we add on there. It takes away the good nutrition of the homemade veggie burger because then we put all the other junk on it. So just as in religion, we take out, or things are being taken out of context and turn it around to make it fit the lifestyle that we want to live, as opposed to a lifestyle that the God has in place for us. And about being barbaric, virtually no. The drugs, when he mentioned the drugs in the beginning, and how 75% of the drugs was brought into the country by air via the CIA, which is all through the government and all the other high powers in wicked places. So I looked at it now, not drugs as in the drugs as heroin, cocaine, and so on and so forth, but I look at how the new drug that has been introduced to us through our food, such as the high fructose corn syrup and the domino sugar and all the other chemicals that lead us to believe that we're eating food, but it's really not food. It's those ingredients that are put in the food that stimulate the same part of our mind as if a drug does. So How to Eat to Live, book 1 and 2, is have been taught and given to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is good for our success. That was their medical insurance back then. Let us go back to that, or strive to, let me strive to get back to, or doing or practicing, implementing how to eat to live via books 1 and 2. And the last thing, no prophet is God. He is a human and he will sin. The importance is his works. So let me not worship the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Let me follow him and the good works that he displays, the characteristics that he puts on display, because all of us, I fall short and I sin. But let me not stay in my sin, but get myself back up, get back on my prayer wheel, get back in my Holy Quran, come back and stay on the power cause so that I can continue my process of cleaning myself up. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Let's go to Sister Sandra.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
My thoughts went towards something you explained, your comment to Brother Benix. As far as no matter how much you read, if you're not accepting the message, it does nothing. It does nothing for you. It does you no good. That's what it took my attention. And the other thing that took my attention was when it comes to the word in the Bible, who is the third party writing this Bible? Some words that are saying none is comparable to him is speaking about God. Who is this person writing this, the third party writing this Bible? So, that's a question that hit me too. And because so many things have been arranged differently in the Bible. I have a question now about the Quran. The Quran is a reference book to the Bible, isn't it?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The Quran is a reference book to the Bible, isn't it?
So we're taught that the Holy Quran confirms the truth of the Bible.
Yes. So I'm right too. But yeah, okay. That was my share. Thank you so much.
Praise be to Allah. All right, and then we're going to end off with Brother Timothy.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum. When I hear people talk about the Bible, it made me laugh when the student minister brought it up that you could hide $1 million in that book, and it'll still be there tomorrow. Ain't nobody really reading that Bible. So when I talk to them, and this is nothing against my Christian family, because I do have Christian family, but as of late, when I bring things up to them, I start like this, and I tell them, just point out the scripture to me that states, and correct me if I'm wrong, where does it say that Jesus is a Christian? Some of them get quiet. Some of them get real quiet. Show me where it says Jesus Christ says he's a Christian. I don't think it's in the Bible. So it gets deeper than that. I'll also bring up, do y'all know in that book, the book of Antioch? I hope I'm pronouncing that right too. And in chapter 11, 19 verse through 26, the Christian community at Antioch began when Christians who were scattered from Jerusalem were persecuted. They fled to Antioch. Listen to this, it gets deeper. The city had a large population of Jews, Jewish origin. That really tripped me out. The white devil in the flesh. I've been reading Revealing the Truth and Exposing the Synagogues of Satan, a defense against the false charges of anti-Semitism. On page 70, section 23, it says, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. No white scientist in here or black can tell you that what Elijah Muhammad taught of the origins of the white race is a lie. So if like Sister Sandra said, is the Quran what did you say, brother Ben?
Reference,
Like a follow,
reference
yeah,
book.
a reference book to the Bible? I believe it is, and Brother Ben confirmed it. You know what I'm saying? So I always tell my Christian family, just stop saying, just get away from the religious side of it as far as labeling yourself Christian. Do you know where Christians came from? A lot of them, they get quiet. They get real quiet. So my mom's a God fearing woman. So I told her, let's just push that narrative that you God fearing until further truth. You can stand on further truth. So when I'm on the power call, bro, it's like I use this platform to be able to stand on the truth like the concrete we stand on. That's how I use this platform. And I'm grateful to have, this community to be able to talk to. I'm thankful for you to be able to play lectures that we've never heard from people we've never heard, brothers in the nation. And I just want to say some good news. I just mailed off my letter. So inshallah, that's the one that get, accepted. And again, happy Savior's Day. And I hope to see you all at Savior's Day. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Just a reminder, if you guys have not got your Savior's Day tickets, to go to www.noi.org, and then you should see a Savior's Day 2024 tab. Just scroll down a little bit. Also, I'll be sending you guys a link if you guys would like to donate to, not me, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, for Savior's Day. I'll be sending that out, a link for you guys to support our minister and all the work that he does so he can continue to be free, think freely, and give us the guidance that has saved millions of lives. So I'll be sending that to you guys via the Power Call app if you guys would like to support the minister with a Savior's Day gift. So we're going to close out, and inshallah, we will see you guys tomorrow. We may have a little twist. Brother Wesley gave us an idea of something to do on Friday, so we may have a little twist tomorrow, but we'll keep you guys updated. All right? Assalamu alaikum.
Is Brother Ben here? Brother Ben. Now, Ben got a heck of a program. A lot of people listening to Brother Ben. And Ben tells them about the minister.